Okay, Lindsay Johnson here believes apparently she's an INTJ. My initial thought is no fucking way, but let's see.
Things brought into concepts. So, in the world of cognitive functions, the little things that we basically put words to describe things that are happening in our brain and who uses what more often. Introverted intuition is a thing that INTJs like myself have as a first function. INFJs have as a first function. And if you are, say, an ENTJ, you have it as a second function, or an ENFJ, you have it as a second function.
All right, let me start here with a little bit of non-determinate observations. I don't think these things I'm going to be saying right now, are especially meaningful in drawing a firm conclusion about anything. But I just want to point out some things. This chick is she's got a fair amount of FE going on. Whether it's a good FE or not is another question. But it definitely doesn't look like polar FE to me. If you listen to her vocal quality, the way that she speaks, she's very engaged with the other's perceptions. So right away I'm saying, okay, this is almost for sure not an INTJ, but it's not determinate. This is sort of like a Voltology style approach in a way, except it's with the tone of voice rather than the facial expressions or whatever. That was a good video. All right, so let's listen to more of this chick.
And but there's many other varieties of that as well. So yeah, we're just going to talk today about what is this NI thing, and I will be telling it to you from my perspective. Let me tell you, having lead NI does not make describing NI any easier. Not one bit. And honestly, I got into this typology community and parts of understanding the brain not very, very long ago. And
Okay, so the way that she speaks, where she's sort of thinking as she's speaking, coming up with it as she goes, that's not typical at all of an INTJ. INTJs tend to know what they're going to say before they say it, and it's purposeful, and it doesn't have a lot of ums. And look at her gestures with her hands there too. That kind of stuff, where the gesticulating, the expressiveness, the general expressiveness that is indicative of, I would say, NE, probably. But I don't know. It's contraindicative of INTJ is the point. So let's continue listening to this chick.
even when I was typed by others as being NI first, I still was like, okay, yeah, but what is it? Like, what am I doing that you're saying, okay, that's the thing that makes it the thing? And through practice and through kind of deepening my own understanding, I've been able to learn some things about it and kind of put some words to.
Okay, hurry up. Enough with the disclaimer.
So when you have a function first, it is almost invisible for you to see because it's so default for you. So these are the things that my default brain does automatically. But everyone does everything. So everyone does NI, everyone does any, all those things. So what is NI? So the NI brain is very much about achieving this global understanding, or achieving global understandings in general of things. And those are piecing together the principles that allow a certain concept to happen, or a certain thing to be true, or a certain thing to succeed. So the NI brain is very wide, as I like to say. It looks.
Okay, what she just did there is absolutely contraindicative of NI. She did 3 different synonyms of a thing, trying to settle on the right meaning. She's groping around for what she means to say. This is textbook extroverted intuition. She's probably I don't know yet, but she's definitely not an INTJ. Lady, Look, I am going to put this video up, and I'm going to link to it there on your video. I get that you're new to functions and everything, and so it's perfectly reasonable and understandable for you to be mistyped at the beginning because most people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. The thing that you're doing right now is definitely not introverted intuition. Okay, just watch a little bit more of this thing.
Very wide for the sake of it coming down and to pinpointing the entire concept as a whole. So it's searching wide and for the fact that it wants to come down and narrow in. And it's going to piece together all these things that sometimes they may seem unrelated, but that's what NI is doing. It's looking for things that may seem unrelated, but in reality, are those two things actually working together? Are these two things working together? Does this thing, and this thing now pull in with this? And now, look, now this whole piece works together as one. So it's really getting...
Okay, so that's extroverted intuition making its way to a holistic truth. Introverted intuition doesn't do any of that stuff. It doesn't look around for whatever. People with introverted intuition, they wait, they don't grasp around for shit, and then the whole truth eventually hits them. Or they understand the world. As they go through the world, they understand things as singular distillations. They don't do what you're doing. They wait until the singularity's been attained before even beginning to attempt to talk about it. Communication to them is instrumental, and it's not very social. So its primary purpose, if an INTJ didn't feel as though they were prepared to actually articulate exactly what they were going to say about the thing, they wouldn't start the video. They'd know before they started the video, and they would have notes and shit like that probably, because INTJs are effective efficiency tool using about singularity. So that's not what you're doing. You're doing something that's much more like what I'm doing, right? Which is making it up as you go and assuming when you start, well, I know things, I'll just start talking about the things that I know. That's not introverted intuition. I just grasp around and figure it out as I make my way through things. If you are an introvert, I would suggest that you begin by looking at the NFPs, SFPs, but that's just my initial gut. I'm not sure if you're actually... I have to determine what kind of judgment you're using, and I've yet to determine that. So let's see. Continue.
Down to the one versus out to the many. And that's a little bit in contrast. I'm not going to talk about NE today, but extroverted intuition is about this possibility, this idea, this potential. So it's about finding more, and NI is really about, in a way, finding less. So in case I was too much abstract off the bat, here's a nice little sensory example for you. So imagine the NI brain is like a physical puzzle, and pretend it's like one of those puzzles that has like 1,000 pieces, and it's some piece of like very detailed art. Like it's an adult puzzle. It's not a child puzzle. Okay, it's a hard puzzle. Which, by the way, I don't like puzzles at all. I hate them actually. I think they waste a lot of time, and I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of them. So I'm not a big fan of puzzles. But anyway, so right now the NI brain is a puzzle. Okay, and because you're lead NI, you've lost at least 3/4 of the pieces. So that's kind of a joke. But you have a puzzle, and you've lost 3/4 of the pieces. Right? You only have like around 200 or 300 pieces of your 1,000-piece puzzle left. And so this is what NI does. NI is going to start to take the pieces and start to put the pieces together, and it's gonna put some together over here. Oh wait, this one kind of go, this and that go, and then all of a sudden it's got about 200 pieces into the puzzle, and it goes, oh my gosh, I know what it is. It is a kitten and a bear sitting down to eat tea, sitting down to drink tea. It's a bear and a kitten sitting down to drink tea. That's what the puzzle is. And so it's really about taking these leaps and understanding with generally some pieces missing, because if all the pieces were there, then it would be more of an SI, an introverted sensing type of understanding, in terms of there's this, and then there's this, and then there's this, and there's this, and then it gets to this. But NI isn't doing that. NI is taking these jumps or leaps. So it's taking those, we've taken 100 puzzle pieces, and we've kind of gotten a few shapes there. This looks kind of like a bear. This looks kind of like a kitten. Oh wait, I think it's a piece of a teacup. It's a bear and a kitten eating tea. I said it again. I said a
Oops. Okay, so I'm not disputing that NI has that quality there of taking incomplete sets of data and of a sudden arriving at the correct conclusion based on the limited clues that you have. That's what intuition, in its sort of historical meaning or colloquial meaning, really is. It's I see mud on your shoes, and Jeannie seems flustered, and I correctly intuit that your dog's been killed because of all these various other things that I know and that I don't really think about or something. That would be an introverted intuition moment. And while it's true that every person uses all the functions, or quote unquote uses, expresses their identity through all of the functions, it's also true that some people, if you're an NI Dom, it's not just something that you do sometimes, it's your nature, which means that you're not behaving as you behave, for sure. Because let's look at this again right here, what you do.
But NI isn't doing that. NI is taking these jumps or leaps. So it's taking those, we've taken 100 puzzle pieces, we've kind of gotten a few shapes there. This looks kind of like a bear. This looks kind of like a kitten. Oh wait, I think it's a piece of a teacup. It's a bear and a kitten eating tea. I said it again. I said a bear and a kitten eating tea. A bear and
Okay, so you, first of all, you repeat the analogy. So you say it once, and you say it again because you're sort of finding you're finding footing underneath you rhetorically. And the second time you say it, you make the same malapropism, or whatever that word is. I think that's what it is. And you confuse you say eating tea instead of drinking tea. And then I did it again, and then you proceed to riff off of it. Like, let's watch.
kitten drinking tea. That's what puzzle is. And NI jumps to do that. So, what was the first example? I have another sensory example for you. This is how NI...
And you... right there, man, edit too. So it's like, probably rambled on for a bit more. But let's see this other example. Your presentation, your body language is not like an INTJ's.
Understands things. Okay, so imagine this little blue dot here in the center. This is understanding. Okay, so this is very hard to do. So this is where everyone starts. Okay, everyone starts out there. Understanding is there. This is how the NI brain understands. It's gonna start wide. That's gonna kind of stay wide. Okay, it's doing this for a while, and then all of a sudden it hits the train where like things start coming together, right? So it's wide, and then all of a sudden, like that. So that's how, I don't know how else to say it, that's how NI is piecing together.
Okay, that's an accurate description of NI, and that's also a pretty NI way of articulating it. Right there with the drawing on the paper. However, it's an analogy, which is typically consistent with extroverted intuition. And, or if it is, when it is consistent with introverted intuition, analogies of that sort are more consistent with NIFE, because that way it stays in the universalist, and you're looking at symbolic representations of things rather than the things themselves. With TE, those sort of metaphors, equivalencies, and analogous explanations are are less common. Let's continue watching.
Other things, and then coming down to an understanding. I might be doing my hands weird. Sorry. To give you a little bit of a contrast, SI, introverted sensing, which is dealing very much with like the physical realm and not jumping to conclusions and not guessing. This is more how SI would understand something. So here again is understanding, right? And here again is where everyone starts. Okay. So this is more of how SI would reduce that understanding. So it's wide. It comes here. Comes here.
No, that's not true. First of all, SI is not understanding things. Neither is NI. They're both knowing things. So NI knows something because it has an understanding of the way the world works, basically. SI knows something because it remembers it. SI does jump to conclusions all the time. It just predicts based on past examples. So if you go out with me for lunch one time and you're an SI type and I spill soup on you, then in your mind, I'm prone to spilling soup. I'm clumsy, whatever, blah, blah. An NI user in the same situation might conclude it was just a fluke or whatever. As far as these circles go, SI doesn't work. It's not what you're contrasting against. Is not SI and NI. You're contrasting against NI and NE. That's how NE works. Like, it's true that NI waits for the conclusion. Well, the analogy I've used before for NI and NE is a hunting one. If you're seeking to know things or seeking to attain a good idea, let's say you're seeking to attain a good idea, NI sits and waits for the fat deer to walk past you and then shoots it. NE loads up with all kinds of weapons and stuff and then goes charging into the forest and shoots everything it can see and chases things around and such. They might both produce dinner, but it's a different approach. So your distinction you're making there between, hi Steve, I'm making a video about this other lady's video that she's talking about. She's mistyped herself and she's talking about cognitive functions and stuff, so I'm responding to that. Anyway, let's watch a little bit more of that.
Okay. Not very good circle drawer. So another really big trait about NI is applying entire concepts to multiple things. And so, again, not the easiest to explain, but let's say you understand a certain concept, right? You like totally get how this thing or that thing works, comes to be, how this certain thing, how it exists, how it works best, okay? And what NI likes to do is say, it's doing this thing over here, and it's working. Oh, look at this other pattern over here. That's kind of similar to this one. Oh, it also has this part that this thing over here has. Let's take this entire concept that's working over here and throw it on this thing and see if it works.
No, that's extroverted intuition. It might, once again, it might be extroverted. It might be introverted intuition with FE, conceivably something like that. But it would definitely not be introverted intuition with extroverted thinking, because introverted intuition knows the singular truth about this particular instance and how to render it efficient according to your own interested calculus. So an INTJ finds and then executes a singular approach to rendering some new reality that they've encountered efficient in accordance with their interested calculus. And what that ultimately ends up meaning is that instead of, it's not that they don't generalize adequately. With 6th slot TI and 5th slot NE, they're strong enough, for sure, in both to generalize adequately, logically, when circumstances require it. But by and large, they prefer to take a particularist calculus on everything. And they rely on their intuition to tell them the ways in which this unique, specific situation is best attended to via this singular course, in accordance with my own interested calculus about what I ultimately want and what the goal is. So that's totally wrong what you said. But it's understandable because you think you're an INTJ, you're describing NE stuff. I think you're probably an extroverted intuitor. But you could be an extroverted sensor. Let's continue. Lindsay Johnson. Your name sounds familiar to me.
What NI also like to do is, sometimes you can pull a concept on one thing and it doesn't work. If you have NI as a first function, it tends to work more often than not. We're still sometimes surprising people, and I'll just throw something on something else that works. But the thing is if it doesn't work, NI is totally okay with that because it's saying, well, okay, so now I know this definitely isn't a part. This concept over here definitely isn't a part of this concept over here. So once again, it's down.
No. I mean, yes, it's true that TI process can be done by INTJs in theory, but no, that's TI you're describing. That's not NI. There's this video called NI Introverted Intuition by the title is NI Introverted Intuition, INTJ Perspective, and it's by somebody who's not an INTJ and who is gleaning her understanding of what introverted intuition is from the assumption that she is an INTJ. So much of what she has to say about introverted intuition is wrong, or just about extroverted intuition, actually. I think she's an extroverted intuitor, but like I said, she might be a sensor.
And trying to say, you know what, I'm not even that mad it didn't work because now I know that that's no longer a factor, so we're just going to come on down and use some other things and reduce down even further. To NI, there's always an answer. There's always a path that works best, that is the answer.
That's true.
It's funny. I have this quote that I've said my entire life, and it really is so NI. But there is a solution to every single problem out there. It just depends if we're creative enough to find it. And to me, that's how I see my NI, because I know that there's something out there.
That is a very NI quote. It's absolutely a very NI quote. But saying, there's this quote that I've liked my whole life, I'm going to share it with you now, and link it to these other related things, is very SI. So your description there is accurate. That's an NI quote for sure. But your behavior continues to be not that of an NI-DOM. In that instance, you're right about it. But it's not throughout. But
whatever the problem is, or how do we figure this thing out? There is an answer, and then it's kind of like when NI is in its savior state, when it's when you have this belief, it's kind of like, yes, we can figure this out. We can reduce this down. It is possible to do this thing, and yeah, that's just a little bit of my excitement.
Okay, so my guess is, I'm not going to watch anymore. I'm going to wrap this up here pretty quick, but my guess, it doesn't say how many subscribers she has. Anyway, my guess is she's an ENFP. That sounds like fourth slot TE, is what she was just describing. She doesn't have a clear grasp of the definitional boundaries of NI, or really probably any of the other functions, but she's ideationally busy. And she doesn't necessarily seem like an FE conscious person to me, but she's not polar for sure. So that suggests ENFP to me. That's my best guess. Anyway, Lindsay Johnson, I will put a link to my response video here to your video, and hopefully you watch it. And I hate this. I hate when people don't have the numbers of subscribers. I just will not subscribe to somebody who doesn't put the number of subscribers they have. Healthy vegan foods. There are no healthy vegan foods. Everybody knows that. The only healthy vegan food is one with butter at least put on it. At least butter. So, okay. Why people dislike your reasons. Oh, vegans. Look. Your body craves certain foods for a reason. I've looked at your picture. You're way too skinny, Lindsay Johnson, and it's obvious that you're not getting the nutrition you need. As an ENFP, you are not going to be the most logical person in the world, but that's fine. You don't need to be logical here. You just need to have a little bit of faith in old host Eric. Trust me, you need to eat some meat and some butter and some cheese and shit. Okay? It's for your own good. Toss aside your ENFP nonsense and trust me when I say that your body will thank you if you have yourself a nice breakfast of bacon and eggs. So, thank you for watching Talking with Famous People. And don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.